Hi, this is Nigel.
This is Sig, and I got a special guest here, Camelot 001, um,
Also from It's Gaming
from
Fancy.
It's Gaming Fancy. His name is Cam.
Hello, everyone.
And what are we talking about today?
Today our topic is games that we would like to see a reboot, remake, or an otherwise
Another iteration.
another iteration of in the current console generation. We're going to be talking about why those games were cool then, how we think that they could be remade better, and how they can be made relevant in pop culture today.
All right. And Nigel, you have the list, so I'll let you work whatever order.
Did not consider
It's-
two of those points.
It's on you. Is that?
Did not consider two of those other points. But let's go.
Yeah, we kind of started just naming off things after a while.
This sounds cool. That'd be cool. All right, what's the first one?
Okay, so our first one we've got down is Age of Empires. Now, Age of Empires was a series made by Ensemble Studios. They had 3 games on the PC.
Is that a real-time strategy game?
It's an RTS game, and it's one of the best ones, I think, in my opinion, of all time. I'm a little bit biased because I'm a big fan of the series, but
So you're totally biased.
oh, I'm totally biased. But we're all fans of the games that we'd like to see more of. Age of Empires is a great series. In the first game, you had sort of ancient societies that you were able to conquer other societies with. Second game featured ancient societies, but those more so from medieval times.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the Turks, the Franks, the Huns.
Would you compare it to Civilization?
That's what I'm actually thinking.
The series is similar to Civilization, but different in that it's a lot more strategy focused on combat.
Okay, so it's not because I know Civilizations is about let's make this fucking technology.
Yeah, no, that one's more of a population sim, more so than Age of Empires, where that's just sort of like a fighting RTS strategy game, in the same vein as maybe
Domination. That kind of.
Yeah. Different modes like Regicide, where you have to kill the king specifically. Others where
Like,
it was
there's
just
resource management in both, but Age of Empires is just for war.
yeah,
And Civilization
yes.
is like, well, we need to worry about jobs and
Yeah,
shit like that. Like,
yes. Civilization is kind of like if you took SimCity and combined it with Age of Empires, probably. The last iteration of it, I think, came out in probably around 6 or 7 years ago. But Age of Empires 2 was like the best one, in my opinion, because you had such customization with the you were able to custom edit entire campaigns and scenarios, and you could make different triggers that allowed for different options. I mean, the customization in the edits, custom scenario mode was just phenomenal. And this was back in the day, and we're gonna get a little bit more on other PC titles later, where PC gaming was very it was huge. I mean, it was still huge. I mean, with RTS games like Age of Empires, you had Fallout series, which was a great RPG series back in the day, and
Still kind of is.
oh, yeah, but in a new form. I mean, the RTS Fallouts were a whole nother ballgame. Why it probably wouldn't happen, just because we haven't, the Ensemble Studios, while they're still in existence, they haven't really put out a lot of content in the past 10 years. Outside
There's
of,
gonna be a lot of work that goes into one of those games anyway.
yeah. And, and that's why we only see a new iteration of Sims, like, once in a blue moon. It was so surprising that The Sims 3 came out in such close proximity to Sims 2 for a lot of people, because they were like, oh, when were they making a Sims 3? So, yeah, I think the next one we have on the list is Star Wars Jedi Outcast.
Okay, this is also one that I have not played.
I've not played that either.
Okay.
So
Well, we'll do one that you've played. We'll do me, you, and then we'll go back.
all right.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say I don't know when Catherine came out.
Probably
a couple
like
years
a
ago.
year and a
a
half
couple
ago or
years
two.
ago. But it's a great mix between being part dating sim in some ways. Which
Yeah,
is like,
yeah.
Which has its special audience.
Yeah.
I
I liked
Like,
Catherine a lot. Yeah.
And the voice actor, Troy Baker.
don't... No.
He was.
What?
Yeah, he was the main guy, Troy Baker.
No, I don't like it as much. I'm just gonna switch it over to Japanese if you can. I like Troy Baker.
Yeah,
but he's overused. Like, you're being overused, Troy Baker. You're getting those checks, but I'm tired of hearing your voice. Anyway, it's surprisingly deep game. All the Atlas games are like surprisingly deep as far as asking.
and the
moral
gameplay was
questions.
actually fun too.
Mhm.
So like it was challenging enough.
You had these two different worlds of just like, which is what Atlas games do too. They have like one world where you're just interacting with people, and you have like another world where there's some supernatural shit going on, and you need to like do something that's so far away from whatever you have. You have to like kill demons of Persona, for instance, and you have to like wake up and like go to class. It's like, and people ask you like real questions. In Catherine's case, you get texts from people when you're not,
Some of those texts are actually really funny as well. Like, I remember there was one was like, she asked you some real shit, like, hey, do you love me? Like, do you want to come out my house? And he's like, see you later, bye. Like, like, so it's like, you've got, like, humor mixed in with, like, actual moral substance, and just sort of like,
Do you think they'll be coming out with another one?
I think they could do something to the same effect. Maybe it could be towards another,
Like a different story altogether?
yeah. Because I think the theme in Catherine deals with, infidelity.
Mhm.
But, well, not really infidelity, it just deals with, like, how you want to live your life when it comes to love and stuff like that. So it wasn't like this good and bad thing where it's like, oh, I like this slutty Catherine, I'm bad. It's just like, no, you're not really that. You're just like,
That's just how you roll. Like.
it's just like how you're.
yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
like
and it makes you kind of question, like, what you want to do versus what you should do. Like, because it's one of those things where it's like, the good Catherine in the the good Catherine in the game is like
Real controlling.
just not at all interested really in you. So it's one of those things where it's like, you're like, well, I mean, this Catherine, and it makes you question things that you would actually question were you in that situation.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm just saying, like, it doesn't demonize one
Sure.
way of living over another.
Right.
Like, it's just like, who are you?
So
Yes, it
there's
is,
really
yeah.
nothing to say that there's not going to be another one, or do you know about any of that?
Oh, I have no idea, but I don't.
They
I
haven't
don't
really
think they
announced
will.
anything on there. It'd be cool if they did. I know they're, making more Persona games. They're working on a Persona game actually for the 3DS right now. So that series, but that series has more of a fan base and more of longevity to continue, I think.
I'm thinking about like what kind of direction it could go in if they wanted to make another.
It would
They
just have to
wouldn't
be
be
like
able
a
to call it
different person.
Catherine.
Yeah, it would just
They
be a
have to
completely
call it-
different thing.
Yeah.
But it'd be like a spiritual successor kind of
Susie.
thing.
Yeah.
Frickin'.
Well, like the
Susie,
Bioshock games were to the
SOOZI
Static
versus
Shock games.
SUYSE.
Or,
SUSI. But yeah.
Should I have sex with the woman in the office or the girl who works at the Krispy Kreme? I don't know. That's the big plot for Susie. I don't want.
next up on the list we have Def Jam
That's
series.
exactly what I was looking at too. I was just like laughing, like, should I say that?
You should say that.
Def Jam. Well, you know what? If anybody has any problems with that game, I gotta say, great fighting system.
The fighting
system was a fight. It was
was
okay.
fun. It was good.
Fun.
It was like,
campy. You have plenty of current rappers that you can put into it now.
where else could you be ludicrous and just yell out, "Stand up"?
I mean, what kind of people would we have in a new game? I mean, you have like 2 Chainz, probably
like some
Drake,
Lil Wayne,
Lil
like,
Wayne.
like drugged out in the corner.
Everybody, like, I don't know who's with Def Jam though.
But I mean, like
I don't
Def
think
Jam,
it
like
didn't,
they
it
could
didn't,
get a
like,
different
stay
company, like, and
Unless
just
they're
like,
gonna make the official
Like-
crossover series, like Def Jam versus.
yeah,
whatever.
they could have
Yeah,
Def
like, it'd
Jam
be like
versus
that.
Young Money, or like,
Versus
And then
Good
like it would
Music,
turn into like
Kid
actual
Cudi.
Yeah,
street
there you go.
crimes.
or just Def
People
Jam
would actually start
versus, and then
fighting
just
over
have
it.
a bunch of different labels on it, like.
Yeah, make one for the Xbox One and PS4.
Yeah,
and
or
go
like
crazy.
they could change the name to like what would it, Hip Hop
Because
Vendetta.
they had that one it wasn't like Def Jam, but it was like something like Def Jam where you would fight in this room and like the speakers would like blow shit out and stuff. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like
It was
for
a
the
Wu-Tang plant.
Because I mean we were talking the other day, and I was saying, like Snoop Dogg was in the second game. He was never on Def Jam.
Yeah, he wasn't in Def Jam.
He was on Geffen at the time.
What
And,
game was Snoop Dogg on? 'Cause I
He
know-
was on Fight for New York.
He was the
Oh.
boss.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you
Yeah, I
had
remember.
like some generic person for the first one, but like for the second one you had Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg, yeah.
And like I think like Exhibit was like one of his buddies or one of your buddies,
I don't know.
and Busta was one of his buddies, something like that.
Something silly.
Busta Rhymes seems like a dependable guy, though. So I think
Buster,
I like
I
that
would want Buster Rhymes on my side.
But
Definitely.
Exhibit would like pimp your ride. So.
But
Oh shit, that's another.
It's a podcast. We can say whatever we want.
all right, we ready to move
That
on?
was a silly one. But actually, what I'd really want to see is well, I want to save Earthbound for last as to what and why, because that's a good one.
You want to say that for the very last?
Not very last, but like one of the last
One of
ones.
the last ones. Okay,
But
well, we can-
Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay, yeah.
Banjo-Kazooie, we last saw a couple years ago because Microsoft now owns Rare. Rare used to be, of course, second-party developer for Nintendo.
Yeah.
And they went their separate ways.
So now it's being held hostage, and the last game that
Nuts and bolts.
Nuts and
was
bolts.
awesome.
That was a
It's
fun
just
one.
Nuts. That's all it was.
Nuts and bolts, I think.
Just
It
nuts
was-
in their face. That's all it was.
It wasn't a
they
bad.
tried.
I think you're out of frame. It wasn't a bad one, but yeah, like I think we were about to say is like it tried to do things, too many things.
It tried. And that was a good effort, but it didn't live up to anyone's expectations, nor was it with the game that we wanted it to be.
I'm trying to think of any games that came out that whenever you bring something back that people loved and it's a spin-off game, whenever was it successful?
Spyro. The Legend of Spyro.
But was it like a spin-off? Like
I thought
It
that
was
was
a
just the
spin-off.
next.
so all the gameplay mechanics were different.
Everything was
and-
different. Yeah.
Really? I never played that.
Yeah, Legend of Spyro was basically an RPG.
Are we saying spin-offs that were good?
I'm saying like
No,
whenever you
he's-
have
he's
a,
asking,
whenever you
like-
have
Or
a
a dormant series and
What
then
he's
they bring
saying
it
is
up
like
back
when they
as
make a spin-off and people don't really generally like it.
But whenever it's like we've been waiting for this game, and then you
Sure.
hear about it, and then it
Yeah.
comes back, and it's like, oh, well, it's a card battling. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fuck
like
you,
fucking Kingdom Hearts.
Well, they had one that was
Welcome
sort
to
of.
Chain of Memories.
Didn't they have
It's
something
no,
like
no
that
one
for
cares.
Metal
Christ.
Gear? It was like Metal Gear Acid or some shit
Mhm.
like that.
But yeah, and the thing with Banjo-Kazooie is they've been talking about making one.
Yeah, well, the original. So a couple of the original guys that worked on the game tweeted about a year and a half ago, like, yeah, we're gonna make it a new Banjo-Kazooie in the same vein as the old
first two. Yeah.
original platformer, and we're also gonna make an original platformer that's also like those games too. And that just got a lot of people's dicks hard. Of course,
a lot of women's vaginas.
Moistened.
I don't know,
wet,
'cause we gotta be equally.
soaked.
Yeah, we can't just be biased.
Yeah. Nothing else has really come of it yet. Nothing's been released. And I think Banjo-Kazooie definitely still has a cult following.
No, everybody. People that like Banjo-Kazooie love Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean,
not
people,
like-
our generation definitely grew up on it, and it's a
And they
big part of
hate
a lot of
nuts and
people's.
bolts.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the same thing that kind of happened with the Perfect Dark series. I mean, the one that came out with, the 360 just wasn't.
Well,
Up to
the thing
par.
with that was that I think they put a decent effort into trying to do it, but what I think happened is the mechanics. I think the mechanics stayed the same, but it just doesn't work with the way that games have changed now.
Mhm.
And that's what concerns me about platforming games like Banjo-Kazooie. Like,
Well, the problem with Nuts and Bolts also was that they put too much realism in the physics, to where like when you were driving the car, it actually became like a burden in some points.
Yeah,
I'm just concerned of like the old school way of 3D platforming, like not translating well, because I think that's what happened in Sly Cooper's case. Like,
well, that's why, like with
it's just like
Nintendo,
were
they.
doing things
Well, the
like-
problem with Sly Cooper was mostly story. The gameplay was fine for me.
I felt well with the gameplay. I was just like, I've played this already. Like, I feel like the Ratchet and Clank games,
Well, they changed
as
it up.
they've always tried to change.
So
it
like
up
Banjo would have to like change it up, but in a good
It'd
way.
have to do something to that effect, but it would also have to stay true to whatever kind of thing made it great. But I think that if you just make the graphics better, but still have the gameplay be exactly the same, it's not going to work. Just like
Yeah,
Reboots
sure.
Zero, because
Yeah,
I felt
sure.
like it was, not even...
Yeah, modern FPSs aren't like that. They don't
Yeah.
play that way.
So when it came out, it was like just weird. Like, and I think it's the same thing with Duke Nukem. Like, it was just trapped
in
that
15
old-
years ago.
Yeah.
And we're just like, I don't, what? And then if you were playing an old school game like that, yeah, it would make sense because you're like, this is what this was. But, you're playing a new game, you expect sort of something to move with the times and something to be a neck. And that's what I like about Nintendo when they had this, the Super Mario games. You had Super Mario 64 that changed the idea of 3D platforming. You had Super Mario, not so much with Sunshine, but with Galaxy, definitely. That was the next, like, this is the next type of Mario game. You know what I mean? Like, this is the next type of platforming game.
Mm-hmm.
And now you see games like Sonic, Lost World that are sort of saying, wow, that was a great idea. Let's do that with Sonic,
But not be as good.
But not be nearly as
So
good.
I'm thinking like how Banjo-Kazooie could try to... what could they do to kind of make it more interesting, but still... And it's just like one simple change. Not simple, but just one significant change is all you would need.
And we'll just have to see what they do with it.
Yeah,
It might come out, might not come out. But
maybe Kazooie has a roommate in the book, in the backpack, whatever. I don't know, some shit like that.
Maybe Kazooie like gets kicked
Kazooie
out.
And Banjo.
Maybe Banjo and Kazooie like get like into a feud, and then he has to get like a new friend.
And Banjo's in trouble.
Banjo's in trouble, so
And
Kazooie.
then they had that beef, and now Kazooie's like fighting with that. Like, I should forgive him.
Actually, I want to say there was a spin-off on the Game Boy Advance where Kazooie actually was a playable protagonist.
There was a Banjo, Gruntilda's something.
Revenge, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So the next on the list is Beyond Good and Evil. That was originally for the GameCube. Beyond Good and Evil was an amazing game. Made by the creator of Rayman. It really, the game...
I played the first hour of it. I love the idea of it. I love how the main girl is like, just a regular human seeming girl.
Yeah.
Whatever, just like a regular woman.
Yeah.
But I still couldn't get with it. I just think whenever there's photography in games or anything like that, I'm just not about it. And I don't know how much that played into it, but
the sci-fi universe, I think, was really intriguing, and sort of a lot of the themes and motifs of the game, in terms of, you have this Orwellian theme sort of overarching with this same thing sort of policy that the government's enacting, and they're sort of using this propaganda to make you feel one way, or make the people of this universe feel one way, and that they're, okay, these are the actual... I mean, being the spy and the intermediary between that and exposing that, I think, was a really cool element. So the story played in a lot with the game. The gameplay was very Zelda-inspired in a lot of ways. But definitely, I would compare it, somewhat to a little bit Zelda, a little bit... Jak and Daxter inspired, specifically Jak 2. So it was in that era of sort of platforming where you had,
by Jak 2, are you talking about like there being like a hub world, because hubs grew so much in like the PS2, Xbox.
Definitely, yeah. That was what that was. Yeah, so it was the hub and just kind of going between different areas and sort of being open world, but not really, because it's like, okay, well, I got to go here, but I got to drive there, that kind of thing,
So why is it that it wouldn't possibly be a thing?
Well, here's the thing: the series. So that came out around 2002, and the series has been dormant ever since. About 2010 or 11. It was about 2010, I believe. It's been some time, or 2009. They released... There was a trailer that was leaked, and people were speculating like, oh, these look like the characters from Beyond Good and Evil. Maybe they're making another one. And Michael Ancel, the creator, had said that they were making a new one for a long time, and nothing had come of it, and he was saying, oh, next generation, and finally, like, a trailer had been leaked, or not a trailer per se, but a teaser, and they said, yeah, we're working on it. Be by the end of this, console generation. Never released. And then, people have asked them, in recent, what's going on Beyond Good and Evil? It's being developed, and years have passed. So whether or not it's being developed actively, or whether Michael Ansel's just working on some other projects and he hasn't devoted the time to it, it's in limbo with a lot of games that companies will do things sometimes where they'll just be like, oh yeah, we're totally working on that game, and then years pass and they're like, Ico Studios, same thing.
Maybe it's just waiting for woman in games as far as selling and being popular to just catch up or something.
Yeah, and that helps us go a little bit into the next on the list, which is Time Splitters. Time Splitters, the games like Time Splitters, and we have a couple on the list by this same developer, Star Wars Battlefront, Second Sight. This is Free Radical Design, created the Time Splitters series, and it was founded by David Doak, who used to work for Rare, and a couple of other people who worked for Rare that worked on the GoldenEye game and Perfect Dark games. And the series had a cult following. The first game on the PlayStation 2 was notable for having zero story at all, and just sort of, but a lot of characters. And the amount of unlockables and characters and levels that you could get was really a big part of it, as well as these arcade-style shooting and frantic fun. Yeah,
frantic.
Yeah, frantic fun.
That game pissed me off. I just don't like that game.
Oh, I'm such a big fan. And
maybe it's just using the C stick on the GameCube. Was that like a part of it? Because I just hate that.
Yeah. I mean, for some people thought it was great controls. Other people, by modern gaming standards, we've evolved a bit from it. But at the time of those games being released, there was no such thing as a console game prior to that really had the amount of control and the refined control that game had in terms of an FPS on the console, because back then, if you wanted really good control, and still to this day for many people, if you want great control on an FPS, you play PC.
Because the mouse is just so much more precise.
Yeah, and that was the next best thing to that, was the Time Splitters games. And
why is it that it possibly won't be?
There are quite a few reasons. Free Radical Design is no longer a studio. They closed their doors sometime around 2008, I believe, and they were bought out by Crytek and became Crytek UK, which thus far has mostly just done the Crysis 2 and Crysis 3 multiplayer online modes. And they originally went out of business because they didn't have a lot of series on their plate. They had the Time Splitters and Time Splitters 2, and Time Splitters 2, for many people, is the best in the series. I enjoyed the third, but that's for another discussion. But after Time Splitters 2 and 3, they came out with a game called Haze. They also came out with a game called Second Sight.
Critically acclaimed Haze.
Haze didn't do well at all, actually, and they spent a lot of money on the technology that was put into the game and to the engine that they used to create the game. And after the game didn't sell well at all, that led them to bankruptcy, and that's why they were bought out.
The next step is bankruptcy. Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess in that vein, we can mention the other ones by the same company.
Yeah, we did Star Wars Battlefront and...
No, but we could talk about them, I guess, in this.
Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront definitely, I think deserves...
People see that one as probably like the best Star Wars series in video
One
games.
of them. I mean, yeah...
What kind of game was Battlefront?
Battlefront...
Was it... Yeah, I don't know what...
Battlefront was, That's an interesting question. Battlefront was sort of its own
Jesus,
kind of
this thing,
game.
like,
Because it had different aspects to it.
Yeah, I mean, you could use ground troops, you could use human troops. It was
It
ostensibly
was almost an RTS.
It was an RTS for consoles almost, but yeah, but you could control your own character and then control the other characters.
It's like XCOM, sort of.
Sure.
Too.
You can control your own character and control other characters on the field and sort of be.
Is it heavy on the strategy?
It was strategy based, and you're sort of the commander character, and you can kind of control some of the other characters. And a lot of people, Star Wars Battlefronts 1 and 2 were critically acclaimed, and Free Radical was working on a new game when their studio went bankrupt, as well as Time Splitters 4, which had been in development. But for a long time, Time Splitters 4, Crytek had been saying, we'll release the game when, or develop the game more when, the world is ready for a Time Splitters 4, which was very cryptic and very
full of itself.
Very full of itself and just half-assed way of saying we're not working on it at all and we don't think we can work on it.
It's kind of like when they say, we're going to do a Final Fantasy 7 remake when we sell Final Fantasy as well as 7 did. And it's like, that means you're not going to do it.
Yeah, just half-assed answers to things like that. And these things happen. It's hard to market games that have been dormant for a long enough period of time. And that's ultimately what the creators of Time Splitters have said. They were asked in July 2013, would Time Splitters 4 ever see a release? And basically they were having issues. They were going to their marketing staff and saying, hey, what if we did Time Splitters 4? And their marketing staff doesn't know how to sell the game based on the idea that they want a single character to link the series to.
That's actually good, because I don't know how to sell that game either. Like, it's not like me getting on the... I'm just like, I don't know how they would...
All you gotta do is link it to the name.
Yeah, well, and also, Sergeant Cortez and Corporal Hart were two of the main characters. At least in the second one, they were two main characters. And Sergeant Cortez made a reappearance in the third, and he's the main protagonist of the series. The series is...
Because it seems to be kind of like funny and like weird.
Yeah.
It's like an offbeat sense of humor. So like, they would have to kind of up that some more in order to give you the sense of like selling the title and selling the world.
In the first two games, a lot of the characters and a lot of the universe parodied other it parodied movies rather, and referenced different movies. And the fourth one was supposed to parody movies. So do a lot of, I'm getting myself backwards. Video games. It was supposed to parody other video games. So the logo that they had originally for it was like their logo, they kind of adopt the monkeys. So it was a monkey enshrined in a Gears of War 2 logo style. And then they had the monkey posing with the Spartan armor and stuff like that. And that was supposed to, be a take on that versus the movie aspect of the first two. I think that it would... definitely, if they try to do an Xbox Live Arcade release, or whatever the new iteration of that is, and PS
It's
Network,
not arcade anymore. It's
Xbox,
Live games, I guess.
yeah, or put it out on the PlayStation Network. I think that it would be successful for that sort of demographic, because they could make a full-fledged game, sell it for $20, people will buy it. I think.
Now that I know that it's kind of taking a bunch of, like, not like tropes, but popular, like, pop culture things and putting them into it, no, I think it can work.
Yeah,
and I don't know what they would... I guess they would have to pull from
some
different things.
Miley twerking.
I thought of Miley Cyrus, too. They should have, like, a really skinny white chick in, like, a naked, skin-colored, underwear.
Yeah. And I think it could see some life. Especially the third one really started in the early days of online console gaming. Was really popular as an online FPS game, and the map editor is always a really big part of the series. And being able to edit a map online and share it with other people and play on that map with up to 16 people at one time, that would allure a lot of people. And could be fun. because there aren't a lot of FPS games or games in general, console games. Now where they have really cool map editors where it's like, yeah, this is a cool map that I've made and I can play this with a bunch of people. Trials. But outside of Trials, what else, in modern gaming at least.
Yeah, Halo does it a lot too.
Halo, yeah, but definitely, and when was the last time that one was released other than the Halo 4, but, the map, just combining a lot of different characters with map editor, I think that would be a really
cool, that'd be fun.
Yeah. So,
do I get to pick one? I'm going to go with Eternal Darkness. And this
Great
game terrified the shit out of me. I didn't even beat it.
Yeah?
I didn't beat it. It's just like, but it's like an episodic sort of game. It goes through different,
I have been meaning to replay that game for about a decade.
I think that's the game that I need to actually, it's like the game that got away. Like, I need to beat it. Because it's still...
It's like my Ape Escape. That's what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
The first one.
But in the case of it's just like that game that like scared the shit out of me so bad I had to just like trade it in. It's like I couldn't even have it in the room because it did things that were like existentially horrifying. Like it wasn't even about what was happening. It wasn't even about like monsters. It was about I'm gonna lose my game save or something.
Yeah.
Or like I can't see what's going on the TV because it just shut the screen off. Or like it just muted the volume at a critical moment. I don't know what like.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. And it was just like cerebrally like just raping you the whole time.
That's very true. It was a very unique game, and I think Silicon Knights is a very unique developer. But Silicon Knights has a lot of controversy surrounding them, particularly with their last game, which is also on this list, called or one of their last games rather, called Too Human. And Too Human was a game that came out for the Xbox 360, but had been in development as far back as the N64 generation, originally to be released on N64, and later they were going to make it for the GameCube, and then that got pushed back again. Microsoft Studios picked it up at some point, and without getting too deep into the controversy and lawsuits that followed, the game also, Too Human wasn't very successful critically. It was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and they only released one game. It didn't sell very well. I got it about a year or so after its release at GameStop for about $11. So, but I actually did think the game was fun. I thought it was a good game. I had some issues with the...
I'm trying to remember what the issues about that game was.
So, a lot of the dungeons were all the same. Like they would
pretty much all the same.
They looked very similar.
Was it like dungeon crawly, where you were just it was really repetitive?
It was dungeon crawler, and it was just a lot of the dungeons looked the same. They all took a very long time to beat as well. You'd be going through dungeons for 2 and 3 hours, unless you were playing co-op.
That's no fun.
Online, and online co-op was fun. And you're getting it's constant getting a lot of loot. People are dropping new loot and you're getting new armor and you're like, yeah, that's fucking cool. Yeah, that's fucking cool. Ooh, I gotta unlock the next level so I can use this, that sort of thing. And that was always a lot of fun. But yeah, so the gameplay did get repetitive after a while. Also, the death sequence was just excruciating. It was like a 45-second long death sequence. You would die, and then this Valkyrie would...
do a podcast on death sequences.
Yeah. Annoying death sequences.
Or just like the different... Anyway, that's really interesting.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah. But you had the death sequence where the Valkyrie comes down slowly from the sky.
Valkyrie comes down from the sky.
Yeah, slowly. And then, her wings have to, lower, and then she lifts you up, and then her wings raise, and then she slowly flies back up into the sky.
You couldn't even skip it.
And then it says game over, and you can't skip it at all. You can't skip 1 second of it. And it's like 45
But you need to
seconds.
allow those 3 seconds for her wings to drop
Yeah.
all the way gracefully.
Yeah,
I
and then
compare
fly
it
back
to like the Arkham series when you die and then somebody comes in and like taunts you, and then after like the 15th time that you die, you kind of like
It's like,
you get the
yes, I
same-
know, we get it. And then at the top left one, and top
It's
left or
just
right, it's
loading,
like,
and it's like,
you know, you should really consider jumping out of the
Yeah.
way when this chainsaw or whatever the fuck is coming towards you.
Yeah,
Don't get shot.
Like, yes,
they
I
start
know.
they start giving you hints after a while. But what was
no,
funny
like right away.
Yeah, what was funny to me about those
Like,
is
bitch,
that
you need to bitch dodge or whatever.
yeah, what's funny to me about those is that like, and the first one and mostly in the second one you would have the villain of the area that you were fighting in
he's the
would
one that
come
comes
out.
up to you. Or like
But-
in the Origins, it's like if you get beaten by his goons.
Yeah,
Like,
but in city, like depending on like if you were just like out in the city, it would just be random ones and be like, you're not in this part of the game anymore.
You know, they were
Well,
just
no,
walking
it
around.
depends Why are you
and just
talking?
Got
Yeah.
your ass kicked,
it
and they just
depended
felt
on
like
like
saying a few
whose
words.
Yeah.
goons they were.
yeah,
So if they were like Two-Face's goons, you already beat Two-Face. They're still gonna be out there.
right.
So if you get beat by them, he's like, I did beat you actually.
Yeah.
Like- but yeah, back
And,
to
yeah, but well, I wanted to say just a little more thing about Eternal Darkness. Like the one thing that, well, and this is probably owing to the fact that I didn't beat it, but still, the story just seemed really kind of. It seemed really Mortal Kombat-ish. Like there were just a lot of talk about a lot of like backstory even before the game started. So I was just like, it just didn't seem comprehensive to me. But I like the different. I think with them chopping up things and making it episodic and putting you in different people's points of view,
Oh, definitely,
it
definitely.
made it better.
Definitely.
But I would just have it be kind of like some weird anthology, like if I had to bring it back, like some kind of anthology thing where just like shit happened to like random people on different, like whatever, different days and different points in time, and you just had to get through it.
With Eternal Darkness, there is some. I don't know what to say.
Chance. There's a chance, or there's a.
That brings you to your last point, which was that
There you go.
there is talk of another Eternal Darkness, and there's a
Well,
I guess
the Spirit's successor.
whatever.
Successor.
Okay.
Successor.
On the
But
the last note we're going to make about Eternal Darkness is that it actually instead of not having a chance of being made again, the creator of the series announced a few years ago that he was doing a crowdfunding campaign to do a spiritual successor called Shadow of the Eternals, and that game again is a spiritual successor. They asked for $1.5 million to reach their goal of creating the game. They do have gameplay. It is sort of being developed right now.
Is it still under crowdfunding?
I think I'm not sure.
I'm surprised if it, like, I don't know when all that started, but I'm surprised if it didn't reach it.
Yeah, I would be surprised as well. I think it did reach its goal, and the game is probably being actively developed. So we could see,
As we speak.
not
Like right now.
this very moment. I wouldn't see it being, 100% the same game, definitely, but just as, the Heavy Rain spiritual successor was beyond Two Souls, so too could be Shadow of the Eternals to Eternal Darkness.
So, I guess the next one would be Team Fortress, which is something that I'll start by saying this. I think Valve has a problem with making a third game in general.
But they just have to think about how they're going to make it better than all these other ones. Like,
No, I understand, but they seem to be stuck on twos. Like, I don't know when we're going to see like a Portal 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you've all been waiting for. Left 4 Dead 3. No!
Like, yeah,
That's
like that.
not what I wanted.
Like,
they
they
have,
just get
they
stuck
have
on.
Half-Life 2 episode,
Well, yeah.
thingamajig,
And
which is
Half-Life
the
is another
spiritual
one.
Successor. It might be technically the third installment or something.
But
to
it's
that.
not Half-Life 3.
But it's
And
not
like Team
Half-Life 3.
Fortress is another one. Like, yeah, it's still going strong. It's still getting updates. It's still getting like changes made.
Well,
to
Half-Life
the
hasn't had
gameplay.
updates since episode 2, I believe, or episode 3.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like Team Fortress could do with the new look. I mean, not a new like character style, but like just do something new, like what they did between the first one and that one. The first one was more realistic. That one was more cartoony. It's just something new. Like fucking do it.
I could see them.
How hard
I
is
could
that?
see them doing another Team Fortress.
And as a console gamer, I would love to see more support.
This is what they need
Yeah.
to fucking do: is do another Orange
It
Box.
is Valve.
I just can't think about what to possibly change.
They'd have
as
to
far
make it
as
a
the
different
art, like,
color,
the
though.
art style works so well.
Like the gray
I
box.
love the kind of Cold War sensibility of it, or like just that old.
Yeah, but I mean, they can go with a different, complete like art style. I mean, that's the whole idea behind making a new one. The first one was very
The first one was like, but I think the first one was only the way it was because they did not have the
well,
technology.
they were supposed to be making a different game that was supposed to be more like a war game.
Mm-hmm.
And you see like the first skins were like army camo wearing stuff, and then they actually had to just like scrap that whole idea, and then they made Team Fortress.
Well,
a
Spy
little bit
came
more
about
like
from a
what it is.
glitch. The Spy came about when they had a character that popped up and was on your character team, but popped up as the other team's color. And they were like, wait a second, this could be a sweet mechanic. You know, this could be something where, you know.
But I think I'm afraid if they change the art style, it would make the gameplay more confusing. I think Valve does a really good job.
I mean,
of,
just
like,
say cartoony in the way that it is.
because it simplifies the game mechanics to people who are otherwise new to it.
Yeah.
I mean, even
and,
if they
like,
did an update in the same way that
the way the people are built, you get a sense immediately
What
of
kind of person this
what kind
is,
of person
yeah.
they are. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even if they did an update in terms of like in the way that they updated the graphics of Wind Waker from Wind Waker HD, like that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I know that people would say, well, it's perfect, like the way the way people are set up and everything, the different classes, you can't really do much else with it. I think that you can. I think you can try some different kinds of classes and work with that. But
Yeah, maybe
if
some
you
new classes.
yeah, like if you stick with the same old stuff, I mean, people don't get bored with it, obviously, but I mean, you should get, as a developer, I would be bored with my own thing after a while if I just stayed with that, you know? Like, I would want to try different things, and I think that's what they should do.
Yeah, definitely.
And same with Half-Life. I think Half-Life, obviously everybody wants Half-Life 3, but it's totally possible, and Valve can do it. These are one of the ones that are possible.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking about, Team Fortress and Portal are definitely, I could see both of those getting sequels, you know, in the coming future.
The ending was open-ended, like a biatch. Like,
Yeah.
like they could do something if they really wanted.
Yeah, I think both of those series, Half-Life, who knows? Some people are saying that we'll see another Half-Life, you know.
I think
At
I
the turn of
didn't
the
finish
century.
episode 2, so I don't know where it left off. So I don't have an idea of where it could start.
And that could be an issue too. I mean, you know, it's not, you know, these companies aren't afraid that the fan base is gonna not buy the game. They're
No, they wanna
afraid
make
that
it
they're
good.
not gonna be able to make extra money off of these games because it's like when the
like people,
yeah,
like other people.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Half-Life 3, like everybody, yeah, fuck yeah. But like, how many new since Half-Life 2 came out, and new, you know, how many gamers, you know, that weren't playing Half-Life 2 at the time
How
that
many
Half-Life 2
lived
came?
and died since Half-Life 2?
Yeah, how many kids grew the fuck up and now play video games and just didn't grow up, you know, and
But I think
playing Half-Life 2.
Half-Life is much like I can't really off the top of my head think of a series that's been out for a while that they brought back. There's been a few series where they were gone for a minute and
they're back with the jump off.
Yeah, and but a lot of times with those, they do reboots. Like, this would be this would continue that story. So it's kind of hard to...
yeah, it's hard to sell a 3 to somebody that's...
It's hard to sell a 3 after 2 came out almost 10 years, or, you know, 10
But like
years
the
ago.
people
First
haven't
two were
played
like
the first one.
available.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can do
Which
something
they
like
can-
they do with like the Jack and
Max
Daxter
Payne,
when it came out.
Jack
They
and
had
Daxter.
like the
Yeah.
collection thing.
Yeah, I mean, they can do that, and it's not impossible. It's just one of those things where it's like...
And I think Half-Life 2 still is really good. Like, it ages really well.
Right.
I don't know about
Well, when
Half-Life 1.
you have a cartoony game, like graphics that aren't ultra realistic, they age a lot better because you're not trying to make like the latest.
Half-Life 2 had really
No,
good
but
graphics for the time.
Even just the way it plays, I think, is really good. Like,
No, I'm saying though, like if you're not, because they weren't trying to make it ultra realistic, like skin textures and all that stuff. They were just making it good. And it's something like when you see something like Wind Waker, it aged really well because they weren't trying to make it like as ultra defined as possible. It's just something that's easier to translate later on because it's not latest tech kind of
it's
thing.
like you're not. It's like all the energy went into
The
it
game
playing
itself,
really
yeah,
well,
versus
not looking
graphics.
really well, yeah.
Called
So next on the list we got Prince of Persia
And we'll make this
Prince
the
of Persia,
last
where
one
was that?
for
this podcast.
yeah.
Prince of
Was
Persia.
that on this list?
That was on the list that I made earlier today, and I forgot to translate
Oh.
it to this list.
Yeah, we talked about that the other.
We talked about it for a long
3
time.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia's the goddamn everything.
Prince
At
of
least the
Persia,
first three.
Sands of Time trilogy.
Yes.
The Sands of Time trilogy was amazing. They actually released a fourth game in that series around the time that the movie came out. The marketing on that was poor because they didn't.
Forgotten Sands. For anybody.
Yeah, Forgotten Sands. People didn't really
It's
realize
just kind of comically like
bad.
ironic.
More like
think about the title.
Forgotten Game.
Well, the thing is that people
Forgotten
thought that it was
Thoughts.
just like a video game version of the film.
Yeah, that's what I
and it
I
wasn't.
thought. Yeah.
It wasn't at all. It was a midpool between the first and second, or the second and third game. Rather.
Yeah, when I saw the cover, I was like, this wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, it was-
It had like the dark prince on.
It took place, between the second and third movie, and it's like, oh, okay. I didn't need that.
It's really only the first Prince of Persia that was like amazing.
Yeah.
And
It was.
The
fucking
first one was
game-changing.
amazing. It was game changing. I mean,
and it was like
It introduced things that are still being used today in games.
the puzzles
Much like-
were. It was a great. I mean, it had a great marriage between puzzle,
Action.
tough puzzles and fun action. The other two became a lot more action focused. I mean, the second one was almost completely action focused, and the third tried to bring back a focus on puzzles,
I
but
tried to go back because the second one was too. It tried to be too dark.
It was
Yeah.
extremely dark.
And,
It literally played like rock music.
yeah,
in
well,
the
they were
game,
playing
yeah.
Godsmack.
I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
what made the first one, what made Prince of Persia so great was that it had this like whimsy, even
It
though
was-
you
it
were-
was a
even though
fairy
you were
tale.
fa-
it was
yeah.
a fairy tale, and the third one sort of finishes that arc. But the second one, while I do like it as on its own as a game, the second one and the third one kind of make me mad because they negate the entire purpose of playing the first game for the most part. Because you play the first game and you're like, oh, okay, cool, and the second game, story wise, you negate all of the events of the first game. So you're playing through the third game, which is basically redoing the entire events that you played through in the first game. And of course, at the end of that game, he starts telling the story that he tells at the very beginning of the first game, and you're like,
You
oh,
gotta play
okay.
the first game again.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
See, and the thing with that, I think Ubisoft shouldn't do the next. I think they should have a different.
Yeah,
studio.
a different Prince. I think they should have a different Prince. Jordan Mechner, has been involved. He was involved with the one that came out in 2008, which was a new iteration of the
Which
Prince
was-
of Persia.
Fun-ish to play, but
There were some great ideas introduced,
What do you
but
talking
the one that you got me for the
it was
PS3.
horrible. I feel bad. I feel good because
The
it was,
story- like,
something
this-
that you could play, but I was just like, this is just so like you didn't like die because that.
Yeah, you didn't
Whoever
die.
was with you just
she
picked you
always
back
saved
up.
you,
It's
and there was
just-
like a
this is
trophy
so
for like
dumb.
never dying, and I was like, good luck.
yeah, no, it wasn't. It just like the story wasn't there, and
Yeah,
the
it
same
was-
like the
The guy was a douche just for like no reason.
yeah.
Like he was just like a tool, not even like a good asshole. It was just like a weak like. Like I'm not even like.
It's not a very tight butthole.
Like it was just one of those things where it was like,
Right.
if you want story, it's here, but you gotta like read shit. Like it's not really we're not gonna give it to you. Like, you know what I mean? Like I got that vibe from the story, and also it was just like, I don't know. It just felt like so much more of an experience with the Sands of Time trilogy versus the one in 2008, where it was just like, oh, well, here's shit to do.
It was like a gameplay demo.
Yeah, and
It was like for the PlayStation 3.
It took all the parkourness that
It was almost no parkour. It was some
It was
parkour,
you
but it
like
was like
gliding and shit, and
yeah.
it's just like there's no level of danger because it's these things are so out of like my imagination as
Yeah.
far as
And here's
someone
why I
actually
think
trying to navigate like a huge ass tower just using their own body. Like just took all the dangerous elements out of it.
here's why I think we won't see another one at least like that, because the Assassin's Creed series exists. And that's a lot of the team that worked on the Sands of Time trilogy went on to make the first Assassin's Creed and second Assassin's Creed. And of course different people are making those now, because the creator of Assassin's Creed series no longer works for Ubisoft. But yeah, I think they need to get with that team that works on the Assassin's Creed games. If they made a new Prince of Persia, in conjunction with the creator Jordan Mechner, I think that they would be able to really bring it back in a way that would, and with a new Prince, you don't really need to market it as a continued series.
Yeah,
you
just like, hey, Prince of Persia,
here's
guys.
the new Prince of Persia. Yeah,
Just do a Prince of Persia animus thing where it's like, oh, we got some new memory data.
or they could crossover where one of the
with
ancestors
goes back to like that time
is
period.
Prince of Persia. Yeah,
He's a assassin.
I'm gonna tell you a story. Okay.
Well, do you want to leave him with a little taste of what we got coming up in the next one?
All right, let me hit him. Doom doom da da doom doo doo da. You didn't get that reference. We'll go on.
I don't
We'll
get
go
that either.
That's how I always done that song. Where he says, "Let's hit him off with a little bit."
It's like, are you gonna do like some like to like next time kind of music? Like,
yeah. Oh, I don't know what you were about to say. Go ahead. Let's read it.
I want to do like a little taste of like what's to come for the next one, just to give them like
In the next one, we'll be talking about other games like L.A. Noire, Streets of
we don't
Rage.
just say them.
How about this? How about this? We'll do it this way. We're gonna do a game. Hang on, I'll point it to you so you know which one I'm talking about. This page up on this fucking thing. We're gonna do a game that has art inspired by Akira Toriyama, or made by. I'm saying inspired by. We're gonna do a game that
deals with double fine.
Double Fine. We're gonna do a game that features a crocodile, and we're gonna do a game. Right.
And we're going to talk about why the 80s is still relevant.
Well, we dealt a lot with games from not the last generation, but the generation before the last one: PS2, Xbox, GameCube.
Yeah, and that was one of the best.
And as I mentioned before, Earthbound. Because I already said that name.
You already did say it, yeah.
So that's another one that's going to be... So you can figure out... I mean, it's not too hard to figure out what those were.
But that's just a taste.
We're going to be talking about some crazy fucking shit in the next one.
It's going to blow your fucking mind.
Is that how we're ending it?
So
thanks for listening. Definitely check out...
check out the website. It's gamingfantasy.com.
And also
for, previous episodes.
the channel.
The channel is Gaming Fantasy 2, which is where this is going to be.
Call it Gaming Fantasy U.
If there are any games that you'd like us to review, let us know.
If there's anything specifically that you want to talk about,
topics,
anything to shoot off of what we talked about here,
let us know.
And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
PhantasyCast out.